just a typical Wednesday, which means there's more Apple hardware.
Just a typical day.
Yeah.
Haven't they announced new hardware every day this week?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what today's adventure is the AirPods 2, which is a lot like the AirPod 1, but a little bit better battery. Well, I guess 50% better battery life. But I can tell you from my personal experience, the battery life isn't all that great. So better battery life. You can now do Hey Siri, and if you want to pay about a $50 premium, you can also wirelessly charge them, or you can actually pay an $80 premium to put your old AirPods into a new case and then wirelessly charge them.
I was going to ask you about that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the wireless charging means that the little case has a battery in it, and it charges however it charges.
Yep, just on that Qi charger.
With it.
Just
drop
it on there.
Oh, so, but it holds a charge.
Yes. Yeah, the current version holds a charge. The way it works today is there's a lightning port on the bottom, and you charge up the case. And that holds like roughly five charges. So you use the AirPods, you put them back in the case, the little AirPods charge up. And then that case can now be wirelessly charged rather than having to put the lightning cable in the bottom for $80 or $50, depending on what you're doing. So
for a slight convenience, you get slower charging. I mean, like
not even slower charging, but more expensive charging, because it's not like if you just go out and buy AirPods 2, you get the wireless case. You have to actually pay more to get that case.
So the wireless case must still support lightning-based charging, right? I mean, it's not just wireless.
I would think.
I would think so. Okay. All right. Whatever. This kind of thing, based on what you were just saying for the usage, I mean, someone's going to plug that thing on overnight typically.
Yeah.
And if it's an emergency, as it might be, like I'm sure you've run into this year, but to go to the gym, you look at it. I don't know how it indicates its battery life. You're like, oh shit, it doesn't have any battery. You plug it in, that thing's going to charge pretty quick. Put it on the non-existent AirPower or whatever it's called. I mean, it's going to take a while. That's like wireless charging is pretty slow.
Yeah. Even the fast wireless charging is still slower than just plugging your cable in.
I think it's always going to be, I don't think there's anything to do about that.
Well, it is a nice and convenient feature. The thing is I charge my AirPods, like the little case, maybe once every other week.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep. Whatever. Okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate they made it optional.
Well, there you go. Fine. If that's been holding you back from buying AirPods, you can now do that, which kind of raises the question if they're going to announce anything else this week, because they've done every day. So I wonder, there were rumors that they were going to update the iPod Touch. So maybe that's coming, and then maybe the AirPower comes on Friday. I don't know. I mean, they've...
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I don't think any of this is important except for the AirPod thing. I know that's a big deal for people, but
yeah, I mean, they're doing obviously all this as the run up to their streaming service show, which
put all the pieces in place.
Yeah, or they were worried that like AirPod announcements would actually get more press than their streaming service. So they're getting all that out of the way.
Or the absence of it. If they didn't announce it at all, people would be like, "Yeah, great, they had this event, but where's this other stuff we've been waiting on forever?" I mean, they announced. Is it called AirPower? Is that the right name?
Yeah, I believe so.
When didn't they announce that when the iPhone 8 came out or something?
Yeah,
or the
iPhone 20 was it early 2018 or late 2017, something like that?
Yeah, I think it was late 2017. I think.
Or was it 28? No.
No, it would have been like
late 2017.
First iPhones that supported wireless charging. They said, we're not ready now, but we're going to have this thing. I think it was late 2017. It could have been as long ago as September 2017.
Yeah, I was trying to...
It's been quite a long time. Over a year and a half.
I think it is 2017.
I think so.
Yeah. So there you go. What's another few months if you got to wait? If it's not Friday, who cares?
We measure these things in crackdown time units. Or maybe Duke Nukem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They eventually ship that steaming pile of crap. It's just one of the worst games ever.
Yeah, there's a certain point where delays just kind of say, okay, yeah, we need to finish up a few minor things, or we kind of have to rework the whole game, kind of like Vista.
Right. Would that game have been okay 5 years earlier? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not, honestly.
Yeah. But. You never know. You never know. And then obviously the big thing yesterday was,
if that thing.
If this sounds like a drug, like it sounds like, oh, you got low blood pressure, talk to your doctor about Stadia.
Users of Stadia experience intermittent bowel explosions, and don't take Stadia if you're allergic to. My first reaction to that name was a sugar substitute, right?
Oh yeah. Like it goes well with tea.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in your lemonade.
Yeah, all the dieters are eating Stadia, whatever it is. So.
Yeah, but whatever. That's their thing. It's kind of exactly what we expected. I'm convinced that their one killer feature, I actually meant to put an image up of it, is YouTube. Like that is going to be what makes or breaks the service, I think.
Yeah.
Primarily because, but I don't know how well it's going to make or break the service. Meaning that they showed off a great demo with Assassin's Creed. You watch the trailer for the game, you click play, and in 5 seconds you're playing the game. Like that is.
We've really left a huge part of the experience out though, which is just get the game for free.
Right.
Now it's possible they'll let you like stream some segment of it,
like
for
a
free.
Demo of it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's what I think is going to be. Honestly, I think that's might be what it is. Like, imagine if you're EA or pick your favorite vendor, you put your trailer up, you go to Google and be like, hey, we want to run a demo on Stadia, but we don't want the whole game. We just want the demo. Because obviously, if it's on that platform, then people are going to pay for it there. Then Google's going to take a cut. So EA wants them to go to Origin to buy it, not through Google. So the idea, at least it makes sense in my head, is that they put just a demo up so they can have that polished experience. And at the end of the demo, it says, like to buy this game? Come to EA Origin.
That's not a great experience necessarily. We'll see. There is so many questions in the wake of this. For one thing, obviously, it is what we expected. I think it's also fair to say it is very much what we expect from Microsoft to do, right? Now, there are a couple of googly things in there. They have a unique take on the game controller, which is Wi-Fi enabled and connects directly to the service, and that's interesting. It's interesting. And if you're going to play games on this platform, you're going to want that controller. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So that's fine. But man, they. What is it? Ubisoft. Yeah, that makes Assassin's Creed. One game, Doom was there.
Yeah.
I think we had the conversation recently where we were talking. Yeah, it was about racing games. There's something about racing games where those things just kind of move right along. They're good demos because it's super fast and the graphics quality is high. You can claim 4K to 60 frames a second, whatever. No offense to the new Doom games, but that's the same thing, right? It's where like a Call of Duty or any of the Battle Royale games or Battlefield or whatever kind of emulates this boots on the ground effect. When you play the new Doom game, it's like you're on an ice skating rink, right? It doesn't in any way resemble running around on real ground. It is like sliding across an air hockey, surface. That's the sense of movement you get. I think they did it somewhat on purpose to keep the speed up. To me, it makes it seem like a racing game, frankly, right? Now, it's more of an open world situation, of course, but it's still a level that's designed and they know how to preload it and blah, 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 whatever. So, unfortunately, I don't know that Doom, and by the way, they didn't show any gameplay anyway, so who cares? Like, there was no gameplay from that game. We don't know what that looks like on this system. So, I will say this. The Assassin's Creed Odyssey game they showed off, which was actually from the previous Project Stream thing, looked great. It looked great, And, you're a console gamer. I am as well. I think you are, right? You play.
Primarily.
Primarily. So, obviously, there are advantages to the PC, and most of those advantages relate to graphics quality and then probably an improvement in frame rates, assuming you have powerful enough hardware. But the reason people choose a console is because of the simplicity. And because it's easy to pick it up and go. There's not a lot of stuff you have to do. It's less expensive too. And if this thing is done right, I mean, it will have the same advantages over the console. The graphics might not be as good for a lot of people, depending on your latency, your connection speed, and so forth. But the simplicity of it and the ability to get going, I think, is a huge advantage. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
But my God, one game basically, right? No game publishers, no first party anything, no third party anything from support. I mean, it's like this giant question mark. Now, there are gaming events coming up, which we all know about, that maybe we'll learn more then. But I don't know. This could be like the Apple service, where it kind of, the Apple video service, where it kind of launches with a subset of what you might want. And, we'll see.
Yeah, there's more questions, I think, than answers. Because the other thing, too, is we don't know how you're going to pay for it. Or do you buy a game, or do you just rent a game? Or how does it...
Yes, right. Well, they have a Game Pass style thing where you can select from some, library of games. Nobody knows.
And then are you going to be locked in? Because the one advantage that Microsoft has, and even Sony will if they do this, day one, when you sign up for xCloud or whatever, I can almost guarantee, now I can't explicitly say, but I can almost guarantee that any game that you've already owned, you'll be able to stream on that platform, probably for free, as long as you're signed into your Xbox account if you've already bought it. I think that's the idea.
Yeah, and for those developers that allow that, right? Like, the problem with backward compatibility is that, they could go to a game maker and say, hey, we really want to bring forward your Xbox 360 game. And they're like, yeah, I don't think so. We sell these games ourselves. We remake them, whatever. I mean, that's their choice. But yes, I mean, some selection. I don't know how many games are in backward compatibility today, but it's hundreds and hundreds, I'm sure. And yes, some huge selection of games will be available to you. I'm sure that's going to be true.
Yeah, and then so you have your library, which you've already paid for and bought or whatever, and then they're going to have Game Pass, which has over 100 games, and all that we expect to fully be included. So that is a very big advantage Microsoft has just from day one. And then the question becomes is, okay, depending on Google's business model, do you really want your gaming experience fragmented? And some people might not care. They might be able to say, okay, I'll play some games on Google stuff and some games on xCloud.
Yep.
It's
all right. So I have an idea about this because there are big game platform makers today. Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. And they have a built-in audience that is tens of millions strong.
Yep.
And in Sony's case, it's probably about 100 million, whatever the number is. Those guys have decades of experience in the industry. They have vast libraries of content, exclusive content, things that are better on their platform than they are on others, et cetera, et cetera. They have the ability to bring forward some of that stuff through a backward compatibility type thing. All three of those companies do that kind of thing. How can Google in 2019, 2020 walk into this market? Google just said from the other room that the answer is -1.
Oh.
So the way that Google can walk into this market, it must have thought I was saying 2020 minus 2019. Anyway, or something. 2019 minus 2020 is -1, right? Anyway, okay, that was crazy. But, what are they who are they attracting here, right? Yeah. The hardcore gamers, really hardcore gamers, are already on PC. And then there's a subset of, we'll still call them hardcore gamers. They aren't really, but the people who they're exclusively Xbox or PlayStation, whatever. They're not going to this thing, right? They're not in the game.
Yeah.
But there is a bigger audience of people. There's 2 billion gamers overall on Google's platforms today, stretched between people who are actually playing games on Google Play to people who are watching games. They said hundreds of millions watching people play games on YouTube. And you said this earlier, YouTube, is key, and I think that's true. I think what they're trying to do is engage an audience that today is watching people play games on YouTube, but are playing those games on other platforms or are not playing those games at all. And so we're going to call these people, I'm going to call them something like engaged casual gamers, right? Because there are people like my wife who would never consider herself a gamer, but she plays Words with Friends on her phone. And you've stood in line in places and you've seen people with Bejeweled type games or Angry Bird type games in the past or whatever it is. Like, I don't think a lot of those people think of themselves as gamers, but they are participating in this industry, whether they believe it or not, and they're part of the number. And I think Google is trying to attract those guys. And yeah, maybe. I mean, the notion of like a Google Assistant thing where like I'm stuck on a game, this happens to me all the time. Like you get stuck and you go to Google on your computer and you type in walkthrough level, whatever it is in whatever game it is, and you either get a video or a text description, whatever. Is having that in the game or on the same machine, I guess, actually better? I don't know, maybe in some cases, but
Yeah.
I don't see that as a huge differentiator, frankly.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out for Google, because they've got an audience, I should say, that they can pitch this to on YouTube every single day. And they've got a very large, what they call top of the sales funnel, right? They have YouTube gaming. Everybody that's there is a potential customer. The question is, will people make the jump? We'll find out.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, I'm very curious about it. I guess just looking at raw numbers, you could make the argument that if they can only convert some tiny percentage of people who are watching games on YouTube today to become gamers on, what's it called? Stadia. That market is potentially as big as the market for the Xbox One, right? Now, there's all kinds of overhead to it. There's a lot of R&D costs. We talk a lot about how an Xbox console costs Microsoft several $1 billion every time they make it. In the case of the Xbox 360, that several $1 billion doubled because of the non-warranty callback they did. But, I mean, there's a cost to what Google's doing, for sure. This infrastructure they're building is not cheap and not free. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
But they've got the cash to do it, so that's the.
And they see the benefit of it. As I said, what's the? I might even have the exact. I'm working on an editorial about this. Games are now the single biggest form of entertainment on the planet, which is true. Over 2 billion players from around the world on Google platforms. Hundreds of millions of people every day watch other people play games on YouTube. Hundreds of millions. That's a lot of people. Now, they're not going to get them all.
Sure. But if they get it, like to your point, if they get a small percentage.
10 million?
Yeah.
Something? Tens of millions? Maybe.
Interesting times ahead.
Yeah.
And if you haven't checked it out already, I put a post up on Thrat, where Phil Spencer sent out an email to the Xbox org following the announcement. Basically just said, hey, this kind of validates the 2 years worth of work we've been doing. He did say that their controller, by the way, which is pretty interesting, their controller connects directly to your Wi-Fi. And so there's no latency between like it having to connect to a Chromecast and then to your thing. So that's actually a pretty smart idea. And
I mean, Google started their browser for this very reason, right? They didn't want something coming between them and their customers. They couldn't rely on Apple, which makes Safari, or Microsoft, which made IE, to deliver the web technologies they needed when they needed it at scale and to their particular needs. And so they made Chrome. This is them doing the same thing. They look at what's the problem here. The problem with gaming online, multiplayer gaming, is latency. Connection speed first, but assuming, most people, I should say most people, a lot of people have great connections. Latency is an issue, and latency can be an issue all up and down the chain. And so this thing connecting directly to the service enables what you said, which is, kind of a better experience on whatever device you're using. Also enables you to move very easily between devices, right?
Yeah.
And so if you want to go from your, it's time to go to work, you're off the big screen in your house, and now you're going to take it out with your phone and sit on a bus or a train or whatever and play the same game. I mean, that makes that possible.
Yep.
5G is going to play a role in this. I don't know. It's interesting times.
It's built into Android too. So.
Yeah, 2 billion-ish. Was it 2.5 billion? Whatever the user base is there. It's big.
There's a lot going on for a lot of cards in Google's hand that play to its favor. But the one that they're missing, though, is the reason why you would jump into Google's
why
platform.
would a developer jump? For example.
Well, that is the other thing too. The other question I had, which Google did not answer, is do developers actually have to build a game specific to that platform? Because that is a significant barrier as well. And they
that's
may not.
True. You have to look at this kind of historically, right? So, back in the day, a game developer would ship a game on a cartridge or on a disc. And that was the end of it. There was no way to update that thing. Well, you could reissue it, I guess. But, if you bought that game, you were stuck. If there were glitches in there, sorry, those are glitches. They're there forever. one of the big innovations with the Xbox 360 was Microsoft was going to allow developers to update their games after the fact. And I remember I asked the guy, I said, doesn't that mean the quality is going to go way? It was Aaron Greenberg. Don't you think quality is going to go way down because of that? Oh, no, we have policies in place. Blah, blah. You know, flash forward to today, I've only bought games digitally on the Xbox One. I've had day one updates that are 50, 60 or more gigabytes. You could download that to your console 2 weeks in advance and then re-download it again on day one. Or you're like, I don't want to put up with that. I'm just going to buy the disc. Well, guess what? You're still installing it to the console, and then you're still installing those updates. And so one of the other benefits of cloud-based gaming, this is not unique to Google, but is the ability for them to update it once in the cloud. It's the same value prop as cloud computing in general, right? You're not going out to all the clients. You just do it once up and everyone gets it. And that's compelling, but Microsoft will have that, and Sony will have that, and whoever else will have that. Google is still starting 3 steps back from what I can tell. They have no relationships at all with anyone who matters. And we already have enough platforms today. How do you attract the Activisions, the EAs, the whoever's with this? I mean, they're going gangbusters on every platform there is. You want us to make another version of this game?
Well, the thing that they're missing, and this is exactly what we're talking about, is their Halo. I mean, that's when Xbox launched, everyone said, this isn't going to compete with Nintendo, Sega, and everybody else at the time. But Microsoft walked in with Halo, which became a very important IP for them. But again, that was a game, not necessarily the console. So
well, but they don't even. But they don't. You're right. They don't have that either.
At least not announced yet.
Right.
So
I don't know. We will see.
We will see. It's going to launch this year for an unknown price at an unknown date.
With unknown games and unknown licensing.
Which makes you wonder if they're going to E3 or something.
They have to be. They have to be. I don't know. You know, Google just, it's like, hey, we're here. You know, I honestly think that most of the audiences that matter don't care. They're never going to look in that direction. Google, you know, they're doing what Apple's doing with video, right? They're getting into the content creation part of it, right? They're not just supplying content made by others to their customers. They're actually jumping in like whole hog. I actually think this is a huge mistake for these companies. You know, Google has ebook, audiobook, video, like TV and movie services. I don't think anyone uses them. And I don't mean literally anyone. I mean, but they're not, you know, YouTube is huge. Google Music or Movie and TV or Google Play Music or whatever the book thing is called, Google Play Books probably. Who uses those things? Like they're not. I don't think they're a big deal.
Yeah, we'll find. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. This is going to be just another thing to watch.
Yeah, no, it's important to pay attention to it. And for the Microsoft guys, aside from the controller thing, which I think was a unique and unexpected twist. What they're doing is exactly what Microsoft is doing. This is exactly the same. And so all these benefits, you know, Microsoft has been working on quick start technology for its console games. Guess why? You know, they're working on it for the cloud too. And you could kind of look at the whole Google thing and say, here's a nice preview of what Microsoft's going to announce in June. Because I think that's what it was.
Yeah. June will be super interesting, and if you're not familiar with what is happening in June, besides Apple probably announcing iOS, whatever, 14 or whatever number they're on, it's also E3.
iOS the 13th, as I'm going to call it. Oh, boy.
Yep, it's going to be a long...
So are you any more interested in going to E3 this year now? Or do you think this is going to...
I'm always interested, but it's the same problem every year. It's at the end of a very busy travel span.
I know, and you just don't want to do anything. Plus, you have a vacation too, I think.
Yeah, I have a vacation tossed in there, and then to get on a plane to fly to LA. If it was in New York, I probably would go to it.
Yep.
But to get on a plane for 4.5 hours to go to LA,
right,
when it's all streamed online.
It's true. There's some value to the in-person thing.
Oh, there absolutely is. I agree.
Being able to experience it. Like, I would love to sit down with this Stadia, whatever it's called, Stadia. and experience it. You know, I am very curious. There's no doubt about it. Oh well,
we will see. We will see. All right, folks. So that wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow, which should be tomorrow's Thursday. So we'll be back not live tomorrow. Have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday.